Adjunct Professor Moran, Macroeconomics 111. Now that we've studied what money is, what makes good money, bad money, and its purposes, medium of exchange, consumption, store of value, savings, and unit of account in order to make comparisons, we can now start measuring money. The idea of measuring the amount of money goes to the function of monetary policy. The government will want to use interest rates to either spur growth or restrict growth, depending on whether we're in a recession or inflation. You want to lower interest rates during a period of recession so people can borrow more money and buy more GDP. And you want to restrict the supply of money to send interest rates up during a period of inflation. So when interest rates go up, people will borrow less and buy less. So to change interest rates, we have to change the supply of money, right? The supply goes up, price goes down. What's the price of money? Interest rates, and vice versa. So then we need a way of measuring the money supply, and the most common ways of measuring the money supply are these things called M. There are many of them. We're going to study M1, M2, and M3. The basic difference between M1, M2, and M3, as you get higher numbers, they are harder to spend. It's called liquidity. Something that is easy to spend is liquid, like water. If it's illiquid, it doesn't flow, like ice. So the supply of money, M1 equals currency and cash deposits. Currency is cash and coins. Checking deposits are a bank account that you can write your own paper to, and the bank will transfer the money to whoever you wrote the check to. This is the narrowest definition of money, but it's the most liquid. Currency is coins and paper money. Coins account only for about 2 to 3% of M1. Believe it or not, cash is 46, which means that most of the money spent is actually in checking deposits. That may surprise you, but if you think about it, what are you going to pay your college tuition with? A check. You're probably not going to go to the bank with a duffel bag and take all the cash for your tuition and put it in the duffel bag, because I'll be standing outside the bank with a weapon to relieve you of that burden. So it's a much more secure and convenient way to pay large bills with checks, either through the mail or just by writing a check when you're at the point of purchase, like the bursar's office or a store. So that's why checks are such a large part of M1. They have no intrinsic value. Coins used to be made out of gold and silver, but no more. So there is no intrinsic value in the money supply. You take it because you believe someone else will take it when you go to sell it, when you go to spend it. Checking accounts account for approximately 52% of M1. It's the largest part. Checks are more convenient than cash and coins sometimes. And checks transfer ownership of deposits that are held in the bank to whomever you write the check to. Now, this is going to be very critical to your understanding of monetary policy. Some money is not counted. So if a financial institution like a bank has money, or the Federal Reserve has cash and coins, it is not counted. So if you take your money cash to the bank and put it in the bank, your checking account balance goes up. It would be double counting the money if we counted the cash and coins in addition to increasing the value of your checking account. So once you give your cash and coins to the bank, it is no longer counted. Or you send your money to the government for taxes, the money is no longer counted. So again, money held by the government is also excluded. It's not available to be used for purchasing goods and services, so there's no point in including it in our measurement. M2 is less liquid than M1. It includes everything in M1 plus savings deposits, small time deposits. If you go to the bank and see advertisements for a savings account called a certificate of deposit, that's what these are. And money market, mutual funds. Okay. When you put your money in a time deposit, safe deposit, you get a higher rate of interest than a savings account, but you promise to leave the money on deposit for a certain amount of time. So the bank will reward you for that commitment, but if you break the agreement, you'll be subject to penalties. So this is less liquid than a savings account or cash and coins. Money market mutual funds are sold by certain companies that sell mutual funds, and although you do get a checkbook, there are minimum amounts you can write checks for when you open these investments up, and so they are less liquid than savings accounts and cash and coins. M3 includes everything in M2, which includes everything in M1, as well as large time deposits, over $100,000. So these are like typically owned by businesses. This is the least liquid measure of money. How to measure the money supply. Changing the money supply will lead to changes in interest rates, which can then either be expansionary monetary policy to fight recessions or contractionary monetary policy to fight inflation.